When you come up there, we
Good
don't.
to see you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, I currently call the meeting to order for the Jones County Planning and Zoning, and that's it, Jones County Planning and Zoning tonight. May I have a motion to approve our minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is that a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. I was talking on the phone before I came. Old business. Any old business? All right. New business. The items that we're gonna hear tonight, the decisions that are made are recommendations, and so the Board of Commissioners makes the final decision, and that meeting will be on Tuesday, May the 6th. So whatever we say here goes forward to them, and then they make the ultimate decision. First item tonight is Mr. Roderick Robbins, who is requesting to rezone 1 acre from R1 Single Family Residential to RR Rural Residential, I was okay with that, in order to allow one double wide. Property is located off Jasmine Drive behind Clifton Ridge subdivision and consists of 74.79 acres. Mr. Robbins, could you come up and tell us your plans, please?
Okay. First, let me ask you this. You said something about 1 acre. I was hoping to, did we not rezone the entire parcel, or?
So I called you on the phone and discussed that with you, that
Okay.
if you asked to rezone the entire 100 acres, the concern that that would cause to the neighborhood that you were adjacent to, that we would have the neighborhood under the impression you wanted to put
I got you.
100 mobile homes out there.
Well, that's impossible because there's a perpetual conservation easement, which has certain do's and don'ts. I can't divide it. I can't cut the trees. I can't do a lot of different things. There's one area, it's a total of 123 acres. There's 2 areas on both lots where I can put a house. So, you can't divide it, there's nothing you can do. I can't put a whole bunch of mobile homes on it if I wanted to. So, I don't know if that, changes anything.
From whom is, who's holding the conservation easements?
I can't think of the name of the Conservation Trust. I can look it up right quick if you need to. But there's a Conservation Trust in Peachtree City that has it. So I have to send them pictures of the house. I have to send them everything that I'm gonna do so they can approve it before I can do it. Okay.
You're the owner?
Yes.
Because it shows here that it's BOS Leasing Company.
Yeah, I closed on February 13th.
Okay, so this is just.
And they told me that it takes a year before it,
Or longer, okay.
yeah. So I'll do whatever I need to do. I was just asking because I didn't.
I jumped ahead, I
Yeah.
apologize, I was curious about the easement, conservation easement.
Oh, okay.
So, questions from the board? Yes, sir.
I was just, so is it your intention to have the entire property rezoned, or just the 1 acre that we discussed on the phone?
Well, I don't know, because all I care about is putting my house on it. So I can't, when you say take an acre, I can't, I can't have it surveyed and take
So
out.
we don't have to survey, we don't have to subdivide the property to create the zoning.
Oh, okay, well, if that's the case, then that's fine, it doesn't matter to me. It could be 1 acre. I just need it, where that I can choose whatever my house is. Because I think right now it's zoned where I can't have a manufactured home. And my goal is to have a modular home. But come to find out, you buy over 100 acres, some banks don't want to finance over 10 acres. So I've been struggling I found financing, but I'm either going to get a modular home or a manufactured home. So that's why I'm trying to change the zoning, just in case I have to get a manufactured home. And trust me, it's not going to be a single wide. It's $385,000 is the manufactured home that I'm getting. So trust me, it'll be nice. It won't be an eyesore. So I just need approval and I'm in a rush. I guess the reason I'm doing this is because I'm moving my family here and school starts in August. So I've got to try to get them in here before school starts. So, and the quickest way I can do it is manufactured home or a modular home.
So you don't have literally a specific location right this minute chosen that you wanna put that.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a choice. Yeah, it's already chosen.
So we.
Based on
put-
my conversation with him, we could identify the 1 acre and then say that's all, that way all they can have is the one double wide, and then the neighborhood doesn't have the concerns about something else happening down the road, with the zoning change.
Because if you look at the conservation easement, you'll see it's circled out where you can put the houses. So, and you can't choose it. Trust me, I tried to move it a little bit, and they told me I couldn't move it, so. So I'm asking you guys to just let me have, you know, manufactured home, tiny home, barn dominium, and that's the extent of it. It won't be any less than that.
Questions from the board?
Tim, has this been advertised and signs posted for rezoning?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I kinda like to know what I'm voting on myself. Am I voting on in 1 acre, and where on the 75 acres is the 1 acre that we're voting on?
Can I pull it up, or do you by any chance have a?
I didn't provide that
Okay.
to us, we don't have that.
Yeah, just, that's the whole big tract though. I think it's 74 acres there.
I had print everything, but I left it in Atlanta before it came down.
So,
We're showing a parcel on this map.
is this the parcel?
Is that the same one?
That's one of them, it's 2 parcels.
Is this 1 acre you're trying to rezone on this map?
Yeah, this is it. This is right here, it's
Uh-huh.
the same as where that is.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically gonna be like right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have that outlined here.
Right there.
Well, I see something there. Where is it?
Well, I'm saying that's where that is. on
Okay,
this.
in this area?
Yeah.
You're
see-
saying it's right in here?
Yeah, see where the road?
Yeah, I
right
see that,
there?
yeah.
That's the road right there, and the dead ends right there.
Okay.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the actual conservation.
So you included in your list of maybes barn dominium. Is
It's
that-
roughly-
Is that a
It's,
maybe?
it's not gonna.
It's roughly 500 feet into the property.
'Cause
500
it's
feet
something
in?
different.
Yes,
No,
sir.
it's not, I'm not gonna do that.
That helps. Okay.
But I don't have time. And I hate to. There's another little picture that kind of shows you with the lots.
Let me see it again, please. Okay, so about how far in is that? A
About
couple of?
400 feet.
400, okay.
Maybe something kind of shows it with the lots. It's kind of with this paper here.
Okay.
Sorry, I guess I should have had this up. Didn't think I would need it. Found it, I'm just waiting on the internet to open it up. While it's doing it, any other questions while this is still trying to open up?
Have you talked to any of your neighbors or had conversations?
The developer has started building new houses on that street, so I've talked to one. There's only one house that's sold so far, and there's about 3 that's pending. So, but I have talked to them.
What does Jasmine Drive come out to? Is it Joycliff?
Jasmine runs all the way down, there's a, what's the name of that middle school that's right? There's a middle school that's right.
Clifton Ridge?
Yeah, Clifton Ridge Middle School, so Dusty Lane runs by the middle school.
Okay.
And then it runs into Jasmine, and you make the left on Jasmine. But here's that's the conservation, that's straight from the conservation.
So that's the site right there.
Okay.
So I can't do, along this creek, can't do anything. Around here, I can't. If I take down trees, I gotta replace them with trees. So they've got certain things in place that I can't change. This is from the conservation. So these are the 2 places that you can put a house on.
Because it's 2 tracts of land, so
Mhm.
you have a site for each of the tracts,
Yes,
potential site.
yes.
For right now.
But I'm not gonna put a house or anything on the other.
I was gonna say, right now,
Yeah.
you're only working on one site.
Yes.
Any other questions from the board?
I don't have a question for this gentleman, but I got one from Mr. Petrowski. I always thought that, if you're gonna cut out a section out of a large parcel like that, it needs to be designated, I always thought, on a plat, on a map, on something to show exactly where that is. Or maybe that's not necessary with this, I don't know, but I just,
Whatever the board would choose to have in that case, if you're comfortable with the saying as illustrated on here, we can scale off that drawing that he just provided to us for those meets and bounds. Wouldn't actually be a legal description like if he was to hire a surveyor and identify that.
well, I guess I was thinking if you had problems out of the neighbors later, somebody was to come up and say, well, I didn't know he was gonna put the house there, I thought he was gonna put it over here or whatever. There might be some controversy. What would that lead to? We voted on something we didn't know we was voting on, or,
We've got he's presented 3 photographs.
yeah, a conservation
And that
thing.
does show the location, if we say as shown on that, that is a 2-scale drawing that we can
You
come
can
up with
just,
that dimension with.
okay, all right, all right, got
I'm
it.
comfortable with that information
I'm
from an
good now.
enforcement standpoint.
I'm good then, okay.
I'm on the fence, just like Mr. Howell, at the ambiguities in what we're actually voting on here, and this seems a little bit out of the norm for what we've been dealing with in the past, and maybe this is the norm because I'm still new at this.
It's unusual to rezone a portion of a property. That is not the norm. But we have done that in the past.
Okay.
I mean, that's what was throwing me off, you know, I'm just, okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Hold up your hands, please. Opposed? I vote in favor.
Okay.
So
What's that mean?
that's a recommendation to support your request to rezone the one small parcel.
Okay.
It goes to the commissioners to make the decision to approve or disapprove.
Okay. Can I ask why you guys opposed? I'm just curious.
I think my comment summed it up.
Okay. So it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the manufactured home is just because of we're zoning a portion of the land?
Yeah, it's, you know, like we said, it's a little out of the norm.
Okay.
That's not normally how we handled it in the past.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was just,
And the conservation thing threw me off. And, I don't know, I guess I just felt like I would feel better about it if it was designated on a map, on a plat, to show me where that house is gonna be.
but I
So
can't
if there's
have
any
it.
questions later out of the neighborhood,
Well, I agree. I would love to do that, but because of the conservation easement, I can't have it surveyed and have it.
well, I know, I'm just
Well,
saying what I'd rather do, but that's,
Just as information, conservation easements are very strict, and they will hold your toes to the line on what you have committed to. Yes.
I was gonna say, having a property surveyed and subdivided are two different things. You could hire a surveyor to plot that out on the ground and create a physical meets and bounds plat,
Okay.
but not recording it for subdivision purposes, but using it for administration purposes like this. It
okay.
could be done to address this concern.
Oh, okay. This is my first time, so I have no idea.
my first time for this survey thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I don't know. It's been
Fun, isn't it?
not like I thought it was gonna be.
Just as an aside, I know you said you'd secured your financing, but I helped a neighbor who had the same issue with the bank.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound right. I gave the neighbor some additional suggestions about, banks to talk with, because the banks they were dealing with were asking exactly what you said. They wanted them to take out 10 acres of this 100 and something acres, and that's all the bank wanted to deal with. So I gave them several local banks to talk with, and they were able to go ahead and get the financing they wanted to do what they wanted without having
Okay.
to deal with the 10 acres and the something. So different banks look at that differently, and the local banks are more accustomed to dealing with larger tracts, and it worked out for them, is all I can say.
Okay. Can you tell me those banks? You remember?
Morris Bank
Mars
here
Bank. Okay.
is local Middle Georgia, Exchange Bank is local Middle Georgia, so those would be some that you could at least talk with.
Okay. All right. I appreciate
And they
it.
were successful with one of those two.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, I've been to 4 different places and all 4 of them.
They were from the Covington area, and
Okay.
they were dealing with bank branches that they were familiar with from up and around Covington.
Okay. Okay.
And those were all pushing them to subdivide and do the 10-acre kind of thing.
Yeah. I thought it'd be an easy thing. Not at all.
Well, I suggest then on May the 6th that you plan to come and be at the commissioners' meeting, and they will talk about this again.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is that it? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Item P2, Mr. Dan McCullough is requesting a conditional use to allow a second dwelling on a lot smaller than 10 acres in size. Property is located at 778 McKay Road, and it consists of 5 plus or minus acres. It is zoned R1. There you are.
I am here.
Tell us what you plan to do, please.
I'm looking to put in probably about a 3-car garage with a small apartment on top of it, in like a studio apartment that nobody would be actually living in, but if we had visitors like my grown children coming back with their families, they'd have a place to stay that wouldn't be within my house at the time and stuff. And just a 3-car garage so we can have some kind of garage and put some of our vehicles undercover when we get the hailstorms and stuff.
And they can have a coffee pot.
And a hot coffee pot within 5 steps of them.
Sometimes that matters.
Yeah.
So, questions from the board? No questions from the audience? So I have a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. So this.
Well, wait on me?
The recommendation is to approve, and again, it will go to the commissioners on May 6th for them to make a final decision, yes or no.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item P3 is proposal by the Johnson County Board of Commissioners to amend the comprehensive land land development resolution by adding sections 73.138 and 73.2310. The purpose, of these amendments is to allow distilled alcohol package sales as a conditional use in the C1 neighborhood commercial and C2 general commercial districts. Comments, questions?
I don't know how to phrase my question other than, is this more or less a rubber stamp? I mean, it's been voted on through a referendum, right?
Referendum enables the commissioners to allow this, so now they're creating the mechanism. And so they're looking for your guys' recommendation on should it be done this way, as far as the zoning, where this should take place. They're working on separation and how many and number of licenses and how big the sign can be and all of that stuff. We're just strictly looking at from a zoning standpoint, in what zoning district should these be allowed, and should they be done as a permitted or a conditional use. The motion that the commissioners made was to begin the process to allow it as a conditional use in the C1 and C2 districts. That way, every liquor store that gets applied for in the county will come before you all for a recommendation, and then it'll go to the Board of Commissioners for our final decision.
And we'll get to look at the location relative to other things in the area. You know, is it an existing building? Are they building a building? How close is it to the neighborhood kind of stuff, though? So it will come before y'all each time, not just a whoop, yep, here you got it, go. As in, would you want to allow it in industrial zoning? Would you want to allow it in any residential zoning? Would you want to allow it in agricultural zoning? This proposal is saying it would be a conditional use only in C1 and C2.
That's what the commissioners are asking for.
Am I saying
Okay.
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm tracking.
So they've begun the process to change the zoning law. The first step in that process is your guys' recommendation of that amendment to the zoning ordinance.
So let me ask this question. What all can be in an industrial zone area? I forget.
All the permitted uses from C1 and C2 are allowed in M1, and then everything allowed in M1 is allowed in M2.
So the other, a consideration would be, would you want to expand it into industrial zoning, I guess? The commissioners think C1 and C2. Industrial includes C1 and C2 plus some more
Yes.
things.
Well, they've got the final say-so anyway, right? It feels like the tail wagging the dog.
Everything you do is that. Everything you do, with the exception of plat approvals, you're making recommendations to the commissioner. So they're looking into you guys to, how do you feel that this is going to impact the zoning ordinance?
Or do you want to allow it in a residential zone? I mean, do you want to allow it in an industrial zone? Do you only want to allow it in C2 and not C1? Those are the things that we are supposed to think about, and we would counter if we didn't think this was the right zoning categories.
So, C1's our neighborhood commercial district, so it's typically closer to residential uses. Are those the kind of areas where you would want the liquor store taking place, or do you maybe feel that that might be a bad idea? Shouldn't be going on in C1 period, even as a conditional use, or, you know, looking at them on a case-by-case basis, they're gonna be okay in C1 and C2. Or do you guys think, we think that package sales are a bad idea altogether? We don't wanna allow them at all, and we recommend denial of this change. It's coming to you for your guys' recommendation.
I mean, I'm sitting across the street at the farm from a store that sells beer and wine. And it's neighborhood commercial, if I'm remembering right.
I can't remember if it's C1 or C2.
I can't. So, you know, so I'm sitting there, would I want it to be a full-scale liquor store across from my driveway? What kind of traffic is that gonna drive? And, you know, I would assume there's gonna be some hour limitations and that kind of stuff, but that's sort of the, I thought it was neighborhood commercial, so I was gonna say, you know, neighborhood commercial is beer and wine, I think, for sure. In neighborhood commercial, beer and wine can be sold.
You have a convenience store, and we don't address alcohol, with the exception of,
But are you
Restaurants.
willing to bump it up to hard liquor?
Are we still in discussion, or are you asking for motions, or what's the?
I'm just rattling on with information, I haven't asked for a motion, no.
I'm listening because, I'm trying to picture my district and what's out there and, what happens if a abandoned convenience store all of a sudden becomes a liquor store.
so, it doesn't, with this proposal, it doesn't all of a sudden become a liquor store. Somebody has to apply.
And it comes to
It comes
us.
back to us.
Yeah,
Now, if you recommended it be a permitted use in C1, then yeah, it could all of a sudden become a liquor store. Somebody could come in the office, get a permit for a liquor store, and go open one up.
But this is conditional use, which
Okay.
means it's gotta come there every time. And if it ceases to operate for
60 days.
60 days, then it goes away. That zoning goes away, that conditional use zoning goes away, and somebody else who wanted to reopen it would have to come back in front of us and say, I wanna do this. So it puts a fair amount of oversight in place in these two zoning groups. But you gotta think about C1 versus C2, are you okay with both? And do you wanna expand it to industrial? I wouldn't see us really wanting to expand it into residential, but, I mean, that's the question, is, are these zonings categories the ones you are okay with, or are you okay with it at all?
You know, I'm tempted to draw the line and, make a motion, but I think, I'm just going record, make the motion to, strike the neighborhood commercial and go with general commercial at this time. And that's my recommendation for a motion.
Do I have a second to Steve's motion?
I second.
Any other discussion? So the recommendation is that the conditional use would apply only in C2. Any other discussion?
well, since we're still discussing, I'd be inclined, I don't wanna see it at all, to tell you the truth, that's just my opinion. I don't wanna see it at all. I wouldn't vote on anything to expand the sale of beer, wine, liquor, or whatever in the county. That's my opinion. I think you can get just as drunk off of beer and wine as you can liquor.
That's
No.
true, Hal, and I'm on your side with this. The part that I'm, wrestling with is the voters have voted this already, and I'm trying to see both sides of it and how to find a happy medium, and, without going in with both feet for, C1 and C2 both. That's why I'm recommending just C2.
It's a revenue issue for the county, right? Because people who are gonna buy
They don't
will
mind
either go
anyway.
Baldwin County or Bibb County.
They don't.
And that's been the point of discussion for years and years and years, is that, I mean, Walnut Creek, people used to talk about, I'm going to the creek, which is just over the county line, and that puts the revenue in Bibb County's pocket and not in Jones County's. Cause it was the closest, I guess, and I probably still is the closest hard liquor sales location. So that has been a driver in terms of the conversation anyway, is the money's going somewhere.
It's been a long time coming, and it's coming, it's here, so, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not ready to jump in with both feet with the neighborhood commercial.
All right, so the motion and the second is for neighborhood commercial conditional use. No.
General commercial.
Sorry.
Strike
I had it
neighborhood
backwards, I beg your pardon.
commercial.
General commercial.
I think just technically the motion is to strike the amending of section 73.13.8 and to approve the amending of section 73.23.10.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, based on that clarification of the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Hold up your hands, please. Opposed? So we have 3 and 1 going forward with a recommendation to approve just general commercial to the commissioners.
We will forward that recommendation to the board.
Okay. Comments from the audience? Comments from the board members? Anybody? Not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.